Imagine this. You're standing in your walk-in closet at 3 a.m., heart hammering, holding an old leather journal you just pulled from the very back of your husband's locked drawer. The key had been hidden under a loose floorboard for 12 years. You open it. The first page is dated the week before your wedding. In his handwriting, clear as day, it reads, Phase 1 complete. She's in love. The Kane family fortune is mine the moment I say I do. Keep the mask on. Never let her see the real me. Your knees buckle. The man you have loved, trusted, and built a life with for 12 years never loved you at all. He married you for the money and the status from the very first second he laid eyes on you. Welcome to Betrayal and Revenge Stories. This is the darkest long con you will ever hear. And the story of Jaffry Kane and the husband who played the perfect role for over a decade. Stay with me, because what she discovered next will make your blood run cold, and the revenge she served at the end will leave you cheering in your seat like you're watching the season finale of the most twisted Netflix series ever made. Jaffry Kane grew up in one of the oldest, wealthiest families in the city. The Kane name meant old money, charity galas, board seats, and a sprawling estate that had been in the family for 4 generations. Her father, Richard Kane, ran a multibillion-dollar shipping empire. Her mother was the queen of high society. Jaffry was their only daughter, beautiful, kind, and painfully trusting. Everyone said she would inherit everything one day. She never cared about the money. She just wanted real love. But then Henry Langford walked into her life at a charity auction 12 years ago. He was tall, charming, with that easy smile and sharp suits that looked expensive but weren't. He told her he was a self-made tech entrepreneur who had just sold his first startup and was looking to invest in something meaningful. He bid aggressively on a painting she loved, then let her win it, saying, "I saw the way your eyes lit up. It belongs with you." That night he asked for her number. She gave it to him, blushing like a schoolgirl. Their first date was perfect. He took her to a quiet Italian restaurant, looked her straight in the eyes and said, "I don't care about your last name, Jaffry. I care about the woman who lights up when she talks about art and helping people. The rest is just background noise." She believed every word. How could she not? And he listened. He remembered small details. He made her feel seen for the first time in her privileged life. 6 months later, he proposed on the same yacht her father had given her for her 25th birthday. Fireworks exploded over the water. Henry dropped to one knee and whispered, "I don't want your money, Jaffry. I want your heart. Marry me and let's build something real together." She said yes through happy tears. The wedding was the event of the season. 500 guests, her father walking her down the aisle with pride, Henry looking at her like she was the only woman in the world. But that journal she found 12 years later told a completely different story. The entries were cold, calculated, and terrifying. "Met the target tonight. Kane daughter is even richer than the files said. Play the sensitive entrepreneur card. She's lonely. Easy mark." Another entry from the night he proposed. "Ring purchased with her own credit card." She cried. Phase 2 locked in. Access to the trust fund in 90 days after the honeymoon. Jaffry stood there in the dark closet, the journal shaking in her hands, reading page after page of proof that every "I love you," every tender kiss, every whispered promise had been scripted from day one. Henry had grown up poor on the wrong side of town. His real last name wasn't even Langford. It was Ramirez. He had changed it the month before he met her. He had studied her family for months, hacked into public records, and chosen her specifically because her father had no sons, and the entire empire would eventually pass to her. She sank to the floor, the journal falling open to the last entry, written just last month. "Richard Kane is getting suspicious. Need to speed up the asset transfer before the old man changes the will. Keep Jaffry happy and blind. The payoff is close." Her entire marriage had been a long con, a 12-year performance designed to drain the Kane fortune. She felt the anger rising first, hot and sharp, like a blade in her chest. Then the shock hit her so hard she couldn't breathe. Then the sadness crashed in, deep and crushing, because every memory she treasured was now poisoned. She remembered their honeymoon in Santorini, Henry had held her on the balcony overlooking the Aegean and said, "This is forever, baby." In the journal he had written the night before the flight, "Pretend to love the view. She likes when I get romantic." Book the suite on her card. She remembered the night her mother died of cancer. Henry had stayed up with her, holding her while she cried. In the journal, "Use the mother's death for sympathy points." Jaffry signed over the first trust installment the next morning. Perfect timing. Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't make a sound. She couldn't. Not yet. Because if Henry came home and saw her like this, the mask would stay on and the game would continue. She needed time. She needed proof. And most of all, she needed a plan. The next morning, Henry walked into the kitchen whistling, kissed her on the cheek like always, and said, "Morning, beautiful. Coffee smells amazing." Jaffry smiled the same smile she had given him for 12 years. "Morning, love. How was your run?" Inside she was screaming, but she played along. She had to, because the man standing in front of her wasn't just a cheater. He was a professional liar who had studied her life like a script. One wrong move and he would disappear with half the fortune before she could blink. She spent the next 3 weeks living a double life of her own. By day, she was the loving wife. By night, while Henry slept, she copied every document, every bank statement, every offshore account she could find. She hired a private investigator who specialized in high net worth fraud. She met him in underground parking garages, like something out of a spy movie. The investigator's first report landed like a bomb. Henry had been siphoning money for years. Shell companies, fake investments, even a second life in another city where he kept a mistress named Elena, who thought he was a widowed businessman. He had promised Elena the same forever he had promised Jaffry. And the investigator slid a photo across the table. Henry and Elena on a beach last summer while Jaffry thought he was at a conference. Jaffry stared at the picture until her vision blurred. "How long?" she whispered. "Since month 8 of your marriage," the investigator said quietly. "He's been playing both of you, but you're the payday. She's the fun." Anger burned hotter now. Shock had turned to cold fury, but the sadness still lingered, deep and heavy, because she had to mourn the life she thought she had. The children they never had because Henry always said, "The timing isn't right." The vacations, the anniversaries, all staged. She cried alone in her car in empty parking lots. She screamed into pillows at 2 a.m. Then she wiped her tears, fixed her makeup, and went home to cook dinner for the man who had never loved her. The biggest twist came on week 4. Her father, Richard Kane, had been ill for months. He called her to the family estate one rainy afternoon. He looked frail in his leather chair, but his eyes were sharp. "Jaffry, I need to tell you something before it's too late. I've suspected Henry for years. I had him investigated before the wedding. The report showed he was after the money. I tried to warn you, but you were so in love. I thought maybe I was wrong. I wasn't." He handed her a thick envelope. Inside was the original background check from 12 years ago, plus recent updates. Henry's real identity, criminal record as a teenager for fraud, connections to loan sharks. And the worst part? A signed agreement between Henry and his own brother, dated 1 week before the proposal, splitting the Kane fortune 50-50 once they drained the trusts. Jaffry's father took her hand. "I changed my will last month. Everything is in a protected trust he can never touch if you divorce him on grounds of fraud. But you have to move fast, sweetheart. He's desperate. He knows I'm dying." That night, Jaffry sat beside her father's bed as he slipped away. She held his hand and whispered, "I'll make this right, Dad. For both of us." Henry was at the funeral playing the perfect grieving son-in-law, tears in his eyes, arm around Jaffry like he was her rock. She let him. She even leaned into him for the cameras. Inside, she was counting down. The revenge began the day after the funeral. Jaffry met with the best team money could buy. A divorce attorney who specialized in high net worth takedowns, a forensic accountant, and a media strategist. They built a case so airtight it would leave Henry with nothing but the clothes on his back. But she wanted more than money. She wanted him to feel exactly what she felt: erased, humiliated, completely powerless. She started small. She quietly moved every liquid asset she still controlled into the new, protected trust her father had created. Henry noticed the accounts looking thinner and asked about it over dinner one night. "Babe, did you move some money? The investment account looks off." Jaffry smiled sweetly. "Just some estate planning, love. Dad's passing made me realize how important it is to be careful." He bought it. For now. Then came the first big cliffhanger in her plan. She invited Henry to a private dinner at the family estate. Candlelight. His favorite wine. Soft music. And she waited until he was relaxed, laughing about old memories, before she slid the original background check across the table. "Henry," she said calmly, "who is Miguel Ramirez?" The color drained from his face. He tried to laugh it off. "What are you talking about, babe? That's not funny." She opened the journal she had copied. She read the first entry out loud in a steady voice. Phase 1 complete. She's in love. Henry's fork clattered to the plate. For the first time in 12 years, the mask slipped completely. He looked like a cornered animal. "Jaffry, listen to me. It started that way, but I fell in love with you for real. I swear. Everything changed after the wedding." She didn't raise her voice. She simply pressed play on a hidden recorder she had placed under the table. And it was the conversation he had with his brother 2 weeks earlier, caught on a bug the investigator had planted. Henry's voice, clear and cold. "Once the old man is gone, we liquidate everything. Jaffry never has to know. She's still useful for appearances." Henry's eyes widened in pure panic. "How did you—" She stood up slowly. "I know everything, Miguel. Or should I say Henry? I know about Elena too. I know about the loan sharks you still owe. I know you never loved me. You loved the Kane name and the Kane money." He dropped to his knees right there on the dining room floor. Tears streamed down his face. Real ones this time. "Please, Jaffry, don't do this. We can fix it. I'll sign anything. I'll go to therapy. I love you, I do." She looked down at the man she had once worshipped and felt nothing but ice. "You had 12 years to love me. You chose the con instead. Now the con is over." She walked out of the room without looking back. The security team she had hired that morning escorted him off the property. He screamed her name the entire way down the driveway. The next 6 weeks were a masterclass in calculated revenge. Jaffry filed for divorce on grounds of fraud, presenting the journal, the recordings, the financial trails, and the pre-wedding background check. The judge took one look at the evidence and froze every account Henry had touched. Henry's attorney tried to fight, claiming it was all a misunderstanding. The judge laughed in open court. But Jaffry wasn't satisfied with just winning the money. She wanted the world to see who Henry really was. She released a carefully timed media statement through her new PR team. The headline read, "Kane heiress exposes 12-year marriage as elaborate fraud." The story went viral overnight. Every society page, every business outlet, every gossip site ran with it. Photos of Henry looking devastated outside the courthouse flooded the internet. His fake tech company was exposed as a front. His mistress Elena went public, furious that she had been used too. Henry tried one last desperate play. He showed up at the estate gates at midnight, disheveled and begging through the intercom. "Jaffry, I'm nothing without you. Please, I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you." She watched him on the security feed, sipping tea in her father's old study. Then she pressed the button and spoke calmly. "The only thing you're getting for the rest of your life is the bill for everything you stole. Goodbye, Henry." She never saw him again. The final court ruling came 3 months later. Henry walked away with nothing. Not a dime. Not the cars. Not even the custom suits he loved so much. The judge ordered him to repay every penny he had siphoned, plus interest and legal fees. Henry declared bankruptcy the same week. His name was mud in every circle that once welcomed him. Jaffry took back her maiden name, Kane. She redecorated the entire estate, removing every trace of the man who had never belonged there. She started a foundation in her father's name to help women who had been victims of financial abuse and long-term deception. The first scholarship went to a young woman who had lost everything to a con artist's husband. On the 1-year anniversary of her father's death, Jaffry stood on the balcony, overlooking the gardens, to the same spot where Henry had once proposed. She raised a glass to the stars and whispered, "I survived the longest con of all, and I came out richer in every way that matters." She smiled for the first time in months, a real smile, the kind that comes after you burn the lie to the ground and dance in the ashes. And that, my friends, is what happens when a woman finally sees the mask and decides to rip it off herself. If this story hit you in the chest, if you've ever suspected the person sleeping next to you was playing a long game, drop the word exposed in the comments and tell me what you would have done in Jaffry's place. Would you have confronted him immediately or played the long game like she did? If you want more long con stories, more husbands who married for money, more wives who rose from the ashes and took everything back, hit subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell. We drop a new betrayal story every single week that feels like your favorite Netflix limited series. Share this video with anyone who needs to hear that no con lasts forever and that the truth always finds its way out. You are stronger than any lie someone builds around you. Thank you for watching. Stay sharp. Stay fierce. And remember, the best revenge isn't loud. It's quiet, calculated, and complete. See you in the next story.